The Secret Misses. Chapter 641. She missed little treasure and boss as well. Luna took a deep breath and hugged herself. It was a chilly winter night in Philadelphia. Luna looked helpless and lonely, but she still had a determined expression on her face. That man acted as the ruler of Philadelphia, thinking that nothing could escape him. He viewed her as a scared rat while he was the cat, even letting her go on purpose. She knew that even though she had escaped for now, her life was still on the line. She could not stop and rest on her laurels just yet. Luna endured her fatigue and gnawing hunger and forced herself to keep moving forward. She thought about reporting the incident to the police, but that man apparently had ties with the Philadelphia Police Department, so she had to act carefully. No matter whether she was a rat or not, she had to hang on as long as she could. After all, no one would ever know if a miracle would happen at any moment. The night was quiet and there was no one on the streets. Only some cars passed by occasionally. It might be a coincidence, but every time Luna tried to go up to them for help, the cars would speed up and then vanish quickly. Luna walked around aimlessly, then suddenly she saw a light in the distance. She intuitively walked towards the brighter area. She found herself in a vast square. Luna stopped. In the middle of the square were that man and his people. The man was surprised to see Luna as well. He chuckled, "Little girl, I was thinking of letting you experience more despair, but you couldn't wait anymore and came to us on your own. I was just about to send my people to look for you." This man would never let Luna escape. He had already set up armed men around the area to find her eventually, but here she was now. Luna was calm at the moment, as if she was surrendering herself to them. The earless man walked up to her and grabbed her hair to lead her outside of the square. It was dead silent in the Philadelphian midnight. There was no one else aside from this man and his people. "Little girl, don't be impatient. I'll have sex with you right here and now, in front of them." "Isn't that exciting?" the man stressed, his eyes judging her like an evil serpent's. His men all shot her dirty looks and they snickered cruelly together. "Baby, I'll give you a chance. If you actually make me feel good, maybe, just maybe, I'll let you live. What do you think?" The man licked his dry lips and started to close into Luna. Before Luna could say anything, the sounds of roaring motors came closer. A row of black cars appeared in front of them, revving loudly. "Boss, those are not our people," warned one of the armed men. The man nodded indifferently, as he did not really deem a few cars as a threat to him. Chapter 642. The car doors were flung open and several dozen men in black suits came out. Their leader was a middle-aged man who glanced over everyone and his gaze rested on Augustine. "Mr. Augustine, I think you've caught someone you shouldn't have, and done something you shouldn't have," the middle-aged man said, nodding at Augustine. "Boss, they're Satan's men," whispered a man to Augustine in a nervous tone. Augustine did not need the reminder. He recognized this man as someone he had seen near Satan before. To his memory, this man was a tactician responsible for negotiations. "Oh, I remember you, you're Duncan." Augustine looked at the middle-aged man and smiled coldly. "You're right, Mr. Augustine." Duncan answered, remaining solemn. "Ha ha ha, interesting, so Satan didn't dare to come here himself. Sending a dog to chat with me instead," he tried to provoke the man while pulling on Luna's hair harder. "Mr. Augustine, I think you're mistaken, I'm not here to talk to you. I'm just reminding you that if you don't let Luna would go now, the consequences would be dire." Augustine laughed at Duncan's words. The whole of Philadelphia was his turf now, and he could even utilize the entire police force in Philadelphia, not just these dozen men. Even if Satan was here himself, he would be dead. Suddenly, Augustine's expression darkened. "You are in no position to talk to me, but since you're here, I'll do my best to welcome you. You can stay here, forever." As Augustine finished his sentence, hundreds of guns aimed in onto Duncan. Duncan was unfazed as he calmly said, "Since you aren't going to take my advice, Mr. Augustine, then please accept the consequences." After he finished, he walked away from them, ignoring all the guns. In the next second, a dozen of black cars appeared everywhere, blocking all the escape routes. Augustine was caught off guard and he frowned a little, but he was calm soon after. He chortled. Is this what Satan is capable of? You want to face me with just these few people and the whole of Philadelphia? Augustine made a phone call and briefly instructed, do it. Police sirens wailed nearby. The sirens broke the silence in the night, the number of police cars almost doubling the number of cars Duncan had brought. Ha ha ha, you guys make fine prey. The police department of Philadelphia was interested to check you guys out. I've already said that even if Satan came here personally, he'd have to die here. Hundreds of armed police officers surrounded them, all looking ferocious. The police force had tightly surrounded Duncan and his people. Looking at the number of uniformed officers, this was probably the whole of the Philadelphia's police force. Chapter 643. A flash of insanity crossed Augustine's face. He had already said that at that very moment, he was the king of Philadelphia. Forget about Satan's dog, even if Satan himself appeared here, he would have to die in Philadelphia. Duncan looked at the police cars that had them surrounded. The car doors were opened and the police guns were pointed at his group through the wound-down car windows. The rest of the police force held up riot shields and blocked all the escape routes, executing the perfect plan to wipe out Duncan and his gang. Ha ha ha, these are all Satan's people. They won't surrender, so why don't you just kill them all? Augustine hinted to the brawny man behind him. That man understood and immediately looked at Duncan, who was among the surrounded crowd, and pulled the trigger. Bam! Suddenly, a loud sound rang across the square. What shocked everyone was that Duncan, who was initially meant to be shot, was not harmed at all. Instead, it was the muscular man behind Augustine who was shot in the head, blood spurting out of the hole in his head. Just like that, that man's stiff body fell to the ground. A sniper? Augustine and the head of police beside him had an incredulous expression on their faces. They actually have snipers. Augustine's nostrils flared in anger. Snipers were very hard to avoid. Who'd have known that Duncan had planned for an ambush with snipers in the dark corners? No wonder they were so fearless. The head of the police opened his mouth like he wanted to say something. However, at that moment, a thunderous boom was heard, making everyone's eardrums ring with piercing silence in the aftermath. What's happening? Several police cars were crumpled by a strong force. When Augustine and the rest looked behind them, they saw a military tank. Wah, a military tank? The head of the police had his mouth opened in disbelief. On top of that tank were several machine guns, and behind it were armed men with various artillery. In just one glance, they really did look like a regular army. God damn it, it must be Satan. Destroy that tank. Augustine shouted angrily, certain that Satan was definitely in that armed tank. Boom! 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 Following Augustine's orders, one roar after another was heard. Under everyone's horrified gazes, each of the militant tanks made their way over slowly, and very soon, they were stacked up akin to a mountain. On top of every tank were terrifying machine guns armed by two fully equipped men. Mr. Augustine, earlier a certain someone said that you would take all the consequences upon yourself. Duncan looked at Augustine and said very courteously. You're asking for it. Augustine bellowed furiously. Then, under Augustine's orders, a man behind him started shooting at Duncan. However, before he could even pull the trigger, a sniper took out the man. Mr. Augustine, I understand your reluctance and anger, but forgive me for being straightforward. You're not very different from an ant. You won't be able to kill anyone here. Duncan shrugged nonchalantly. Fight to your death. Don't worry. With this witch in my hands, even Satan will follow my orders obediently. Augustine said cruelly, despite not really having a plan. Suddenly, the sky above them started to ring with the rotor sounds of a grass cutter. Augustine and the head of the police looked up to find themselves gasping at the unbelievable sight. Chapter 644. Several helicopters circled above their heads, and in less than a second, Trevor swiftly swooped down, dressed in black. God damn it, Trevor. Augustine could not help but curse out loud. He never would have thought that Tang Yi would personally come. Before Augustine could complete his cursing, the person who trailed behind Tang Yi was actually Rachel. Both Augustine and the head of the police beside him started to tremble. The latter already knew that Satan was not one to mess with, and indeed, tonight would confirm the rumors. Military tanks, helicopters, he practically had a completely organized army. What sort of force was this? Throw Trevor and Rachel into the equation, which one of them weren't intimidating figures? And now, all these people had unexpectedly appeared together. The person Augustine had caught, who was she really? Very quickly, the military tanks moved aside and an unmarked silver car drove over. This little car looked vintage and seemed to be of the classic make. The car also had layers of dust on it and it looked very dirty. For it to drive into such a battleground, it looked very odd. Under everyone's watchful gazes, Trevor walked to the gray car and personally opened the door while Duncan, Rachel and everyone else waited respectfully beside the car. Just as everyone was confused by the odd appearance of the car, a man emerged out of the rundown car. They could see a man with silver-colored hair that seemed to float with a life of its own in the night air. He had a slightly long fringe that covered one of his eyes, while the other eye was a light brown pool which revealed strands of hostility. Luna seemed to involuntarily cringe when she saw the silver-colored hair man not too far away from her. She looked absent-minded, thinking she was experiencing hallucinations. Unexpectedly, it was, how could it be? Satan. The moment he saw the man, Augustine's face had turned sallow as if he had seen a ghost. Very few people had personally seen Satan, but they recognized his signature silver hair. Augustine thought to himself, insanity. They are all insane. Blowing everyone's expectations out of the water, Satan had dared to leave the straits for Philadelphia and even mobilized such a huge force and created such a ruckus just for a woman. Even if this man held the title as the King of the Night, he was being a little too arrogant, digging his own grave. Satan, what are you trying to do? Don't you forget who I am? Augustine looked terrified as if Lucifer himself had appeared in front of him. As the man slowly walked towards him, cold sweat ran down his forehead like a waterfall and he shouted at his men furiously, "Shoot! Shoot! Shoot him to death!" Nevertheless, facing the dark crowd, the silver-haired man acted as if he had entered no man's land. His dull eyes were empty, there was nothing in them and nothing he cared for. As for Augustine, the instant the silver-haired man had appeared, his men had already started to retreat. Even though they held heavy artillery in their hands, the guns did not have any detrimental effect on them because they did not even dare to let their gaze linger on him, much less shoot him. Suddenly, the entire place turned defensive. They had no doubt that in the next second, this man would destroy Augustine to ashes. However, what everyone did not expect was for the silver-haired man to walk past him with a poker face as if he did not see Augustine. He walked straight to the girl behind him. He stood still, then slowly put his chin on the girl's shoulder while putting his arms around her waist from behind. He spoke in the most flighty manner, "Miss me, my dear?" Chapter 645. Augustine, Trevor, Rachel, and Duncan were speechless. In fact, everyone else who was initially tensed and prepared to fight was rendered speechless. "Bro, the place is practically filled to the brim with gunpowder. Can you please review the occasion before displaying your affections?" Luna could only feel a tall shadow behind her, then a familiar voice breathed into her ear. From the side of her vision, she could vaguely see a strand of silver hair lightly whirling in the night breeze. However, Luna was not confused for too long because the guy was like a huge dog and had suddenly put his entire weight on her, causing her injured thigh to sting slightly. Instantly, the piercing ache awoke her, then she said through gritted teeth, "I miss you, uncle." The man raised his eyebrows and he said in a low voice, "My dear, did you say something extra? She should be missing him, shouldn't she? Why did she address him as her uncle?" "Yes, I called you uncle." "Baby, you're so smart, you really did call me uncle wrongly." Luna did not have time to teach him the depths of the Chinese language. She could not hold it in anymore and exclaimed, "Move away. My leg has been shot." When the man heard her, he finally straightened his body slowly and distanced himself slightly. His cold gaze skimmed the horrific-looking wound on her thigh and said simply, "How useless." "You." Luna's body was already reaching her pain threshold. Combined with the loss of blood and this dude testing her patience, her body wavered and she almost passed out. The man held the girl's limp body steadily, then supported her by the waist. His light brown eyes turned to Trevor and said, "Have some fun with them." Then, he carried Luna towards the shabby car and Rachel followed him to remind, Junior sister is wounded. This car is too run down, just take the helicopter." "She's not that weak," the man replied curtly before he just put the girl into the car. Behind him, Rachel's mouth twitched and insulted, "Pfft, this EQ of his, serves him right that little sister ran off with someone else." When Trevor heard this, he turned to shoot Rachel a look. Rachel felt her goosebumps rise. "What? Did I say anything wrong?" Trevor replied, "You're not wrong. In fact, you are very accurate indeed." Rachel was speechless. She looked Augustine and the rest. "What should we do with these people here? What does have fun mean? Does the fun include killing them?" Duncan looked gravely at her. "They are the other side's men after all. It won't be easy to explain if they're dead. Have mercy on their lives." Trevor nodded, indicating that he had no opinions. In fact, today they had already caused too much of a ruckus. If they alarmed the American government, the consequences would be unimaginable. They had to resolve this as soon as possible. Inside the silver little car, Luna leaned weakly on the car seat. She felt like she could black out and die any time, but she did not dare to, so she used her last bit of strength to hold on to her consciousness. Beside her, the man was speaking into the walkie-talkie in English. In Luna's dazed state, she could vaguely pick up several words. She was suddenly very awake and she demanded, "You guys want to migrate everything?" She thought that she heard the guy saying that the organization's location had been secretly exposed, so now they had to all retreat to Country Y. The man put the walkie-talkie down and watched her with his cold hazel eyes. Then, with his long fingers, he lightly pulled off the wig that was already lopsided and said gently, "My dear, it's not you guys. It's us." Chapter 646. The instant her wig was taken off, Luna's jet black hair cascaded down like a waterfall and paired with her pale face the size of a palm, it was clear that she had the type of beauty that moved one's heart and soul. Us. When Luna heard this, there was a flash of panic in her eyes. She could not help feeling like she had fallen into a trap. Her voice raised by an octave, "What does this have to do with me? I'm not going. I came over to explain to you that we are over. From now onwards, you can walk your sunshine path while I cross my lonely bridge. Please stop interfering in my personal matters." The man looked at her endearingly like he wanted to guffaw. "Ha, over? My dear, you're mine. How can we possibly be over?" Luna could feel her adrenaline spike in the midst of her anger. "Your head. Yours? Oh. If you're not mine, then whose are you? Theo's?" The air around the man instantly turned heavy with a looming threat. "I'm no one's. Can't I be my own person?" The man was obviously not persuaded by these words. Instead, he twirled her hair and said in a dangerous tone, "My dear, I can let you out to play, but such freedom does not include you cheating on me, so now, I'm taking your freedom back." Cheat? The both of us aren't in a relationship. Do you even know what it's like to be in love? As a matter of fact, I don't. Will you teach me? I'll teach your sister. I don't have a sister. Luna was speechless. She decided to shut up and conserve her energy instead. She leaned against the car window and looked out into the dark night, hopelessness abound in her eyes. If she left with him now, it was possible that she would never be able to return again. In Washington, D.C., at the hotel. Last night, the drama crew had partied throughout the night. All of them had slept till noon before even stirring. When the crew was having lunch together, they suddenly realized someone was missing. Why didn't Luna come? Has she eaten? I don't know. Call her to ask. Adam took out his phone to call Luna, but he could not get through. He frowned. Her phone is switched off. She didn't follow us out to the bar last night, did she? There's no way she hasn't woken up by now, the scriptwriter, Mike, thought out loud. Adam got up and declared, I'll go upstairs to take a look. When Adam reached Luna's room upstairs, he rang the doorbell for a long time, but there was no response. What's her deal? She didn't go out with us. Could she have gone out to party by herself? Where's the loyalty? Adam was upset by his deduction, so he just shrugged and went down to continue eating. After lunch, seeing that the time for their return flight was increasingly near and Luna was still nowhere to be found, Adam, who was initially upset, started to feel that something was not right. Even though Luna could be quite a hardcore when it came to partying, she would definitely not hold up official matters and especially not when it came to work. How possible was it for her to have partied so hard and not return? What's wrong? Still can't reach Luna? David walked over to ask. No, she's uncontactable. Adam looked at his phone absent-mindedly. David looked at the time on his watch and said, if we don't go to the airport now, we won't make it. Adam was not planning to move. He said, you guys go first, I'll wait for her here. David frowned. I'll wait too. Let the others go first. After all, he was the one leading the team this time and he had to be responsible for all the members of the group. With that, the other drama crew members flew back home first, while David and Adam both stayed to wait for Luna. Chapter 647. All the time while waiting for Luna to show up, David and Adam both tried calling her multiple times but Luna's phone remained switched off. This was when they started to be anxious and asked the hotel receptionists if they had seen Luna. When they realized no one had noticed anything, they requested for the surveillance recordings. The process of getting the surveillance tapes from the hotel was rather complicated and by the time they looked at the recordings, it was already night. The surveillance showed that Luna did indeed return to her room as soon as she reached the hotel and she did not go out within the night as well. She had only left in the morning the following day. Since then, she had not been back till now. What's going on? Where did she go to that she has not returned yet? Adam's brows furrowed. Based on the way she dressed from the surveillance, it did not seem like she had gone out for fun. Besides, it was still very early in the morning when she left. David paced back and forth while looking worried. It's not very safe here in America, even though DC isn't too bad, but the suburbs aren't known for being peaceful. Could Luna have left DC? Did she tell you where she was going today? Adam shook his head. She did not say anything. I didn't manage to drag her to the bar since she said she wanted to catch up on sleep. The both of them started to look for her since noon. However, there was no news of Luna at all until later that night. At the same time, at a certain business reception in Imperial. Theo wore a black tuxedo and stood in front of the huge floor-to-ceiling window, looked deep in thought. Behind him, Jake walked over and put his hand on his shoulders, unable to bear seeing this go on any longer. Hey. What are you thinking of again? Why do you seem so absent-minded recently? It's fine if you're not going to drink at the reception, but now you won't even bring your spirit with you? Then, Jake saw Theo's phone screen light up. He clawed at his eyes, feigning blindness. What the hell? My eyes. They burn. What's this? Theo, are you okay? Theo shot a look at his best friend coldly as if his words had insulted the screensaver on his phone. Theo's phone screensaver was a selfie of Luna, Little Treasure, and him. It was their family portrait of three. In the picture, the three of them had all posed cutely, holding their cheeks like buns. Little Treasure looked madly adorable while Luna smiled extremely brightly. Despite Theo's poker face standing out oddly, the tenderness and love in his eyes could not be concealed. The three of their faces had lots of little fun stickers pasted on them and above everyone's head was a pair of pink-colored cat ears. Had it been just Little Treasure and Luna, the picture would have been quite cute, but once the awkward and stone-faced Theo was included, the entire picture looked extremely queer. It was no wonder that Jake acted like he was going blind. My goodness. You actually took pictures like this. I'm amazed. Anyone who came across this would think you've been possessed. Theo totally understood his best friend's insults. He clicked on Luna's name to send her a message. Have you landed? If the flight had not been delayed, Luna's flight should be landing right about that time. Because he had the function to attend, he did not personally fetch her. Theo did not receive any reply for a long time. A while later, his phone suddenly rang. He thought it was Luna, but on the phone screen was Adam. Chapter 648. Hello, Uncle. Adam greeted in an unusually agitated voice. Did something happen? The man's deep voice responded with some murmuring in the background as though he was at some business function. Adam did not dare to keep what had happened a secret. After all, he was in a foreign country and had no resources of his own. If Theo took action, it would definitely be much more convenient and efficient given his connections, so he just blurted out, Uncle, Luna is missing. She has already gone missing for an entire day. I've made a police report and according to their surveillance, they managed to track that she entered Philadelphia. We don't know what happened in Philadelphia, but all the surveillance there has malfunctioned and they cannot investigate anything further. I was prepared to rush over, but I was told that it's a dangerous area. I'm worried about Luna. In the luxurious banquet hall under a crystal chandelier, the man in a black tuxedo gripped the phone in his hand tighter and the temperature around him fell. What did you say? Philadelphia. Didn't Luna go to D.C. to promote the movie? Why would she go to Philadelphia? Jake, who was beside him, shuddered and rubbed his arms. Theo, what's wrong? You look unhappy. Before tomorrow, I must know who that person is, Theo simply said, then he left the banquet hall without turning back. My God. Tomorrow, even if I investigate with my life, there won't be enough time. Jake cursed after him. However, observing Theo's attitude earlier, it seemed like some huge issue had happened, so he did not dare to delay and instantly left to follow orders to get the work done. 10 minutes later. In the night sky, on a helicopter. Theo put a black laptop on his knees, his face determined to go right into a storm that was brewing. The entire network in Philadelphia was paralyzed as if someone had intentionally sabotaged it to hide something. After half an hour, he finally managed to get some choppy footages. Even though it was only a short clip, his heart leapt into his throat. He saw Luna being chased by a group of people wanting to kill her. The footage of the final second was the one of Luna getting shot. Theo's voice started to shake as he ordered, "Go to Philadelphia." Alex, who watched the surveillance footage on the laptop beside him, looked horrified too. He only regained his senses when Theo gave his order, then he quickly said, "Boss, the entire Philadelphia is in chaos right now. It will be too dangerous to go there right now." Theo shot him a terrifying look and Alex could only shut up. Dead, they were dead. Please don't let anything happen to the lady boss. Or else. Theo did not know how he managed to sit through the last few seconds of footage. It was like walking through hell and back for him. He shut his eyes, then opened it again 3 seconds later. His eyes were like a deep pool, with no ripples in them at all. He took out his phone and made a call. "Minister Naka, I'm sorry for disturbing you at this hour." "Ah, Mr. Goldberg, my honorable guest, you're calling this late at night. Is there an emergency?" The man on the other end of the phone had a friendly tone. "Indeed. I need your help." "Oh. Mr. Goldberg, feel free to ask. I would like to borrow a troop of your best army from you, Minister." "What? This. He did not expect Theo to ask for such an outrageous request so suddenly. His sleepiness instantly disappeared. "Mr. Goldberg, what's happened?" "I need to make a trip to Philadelphia." "My lord, please don't. Philadelphia has been controlled by a group of Italian gangsters recently. Even if you have a dire emergency, please wait until the situation is more stable before. My wife is in their hands." Chapter 649. My wife is in their hands. When he heard Theo's words, the minister exclaimed, "What? The audacity of these people!" Theo was one of America's most important investors and he had a close relationship with the American government. Now that his wife was actually kidnapped within the borders of America, if anything happened, the consequences would be. However, the situation in Philadelphia was complicated. A single tiny move would cause a great ripple. It was only half a year away to the next elections and he had only wanted to focus on being a politician for the next 6 months without wanting to take credit for anything else. Who'd have expected something like this to happen? Theo naturally understood his concerns and assured, "Don't worry, Minister, I will do my best to resolve the issue in a peaceful way." Try his best, so, would that exclude the possibility of using violence to resolve the issue? The minister broke out in cold sweat. However, this person still had to be saved. At the American border. The night was lit up brightly and a loud rumbling sound was heard. A helicopter slowly descended from the sky. The door opened and Theo walked out, clad in his tuxedo. Alex followed behind him. Because the news was too sudden, he had got onto the helicopter as soon as he received the call, not bringing anyone else with him. In the rural area, the white-haired elder had waited for a long while. When he saw Theo appear, the elder smiled and walked up to shake his hand. "Mr. Goldberg, who would have known that something like this would happen? Please do accept my apologies." Theo courteously replied, "Minister Naka, my apologies for disturbing you so late at night." Usually, he would not trouble the minister because getting too involved with the government was not necessarily a good thing. But now, he was not sure whether Luna was dead or alive. For such an emergency, he did not care much about politics at the moment. Minister Naka sighed. "Recently, Philadelphia has been taken over by a group of Italian gangsters. Even though my department has intentions to take them down, the current situation in America is very tense and I have not found the time to deal with it yet. We would never have expected Mr. Goldberg's wife to suddenly appear in Philadelphia or that something like this would happen." Theo was a huge figure in the Chinese business and he had a powerful influence in the economy. At the same time, he was also America's important investor in several aspects. He had a close relationship with the government and they really valued Theo too. Rumor had it that Theo also had huge investments in several other countries. His capabilities were extraordinary, he was no ordinary businessman. Or else, he would not be this anxious in the middle of the night to have a minister personally receive him. If anything happened to Theo's beloved wife in Philadelphia, his reputation as a minister would be at stake because if this issue caused Theo to hate America and stop his investments, it might even cause other disputes to follow. This was a very difficult issue to handle. Alex silently followed Theo. All the while, his hand had not stopped working on his phone as he continued to track Luna down. Even though America was relatively poor compared to other second world countries, they had a decently sized military. The power of their military forces came to light especially recently when a war was incited between America and another small country. It was then that many potential investors saw America's true capabilities. However, even though America's military force was not considered small, the economic aspect of it was a headache. After all, especially following a war, they would need even more money to support the troops. America's economic infrastructure was severely lacking, so they valued big tycoon investors such as Theo. Chapter 650. Minister Naka, we can skip the small talk. My wife's survival is uncertain right now. I urgently need to borrow a unit from your army troop. Theo looked stony as always, but upon closer inspection, you would notice a terrifying undercurrent in his eyes. Well, Mr. Goldberg, I think you are all well too aware that the current war situation in America is tense. If you want a troop. Minister Naka looked like he wanted to say something but stopped. What do you mean, Minister Naka? Theo looked meaningfully towards the elder. Mr. Goldberg, America currently has a few more important investments at hand and these investments are related to the military. So, Mr. Goldberg, if you are willing to invest, I think it won't be too much of a problem to immediately organize a troop for you. I'm just wondering what you think about it. Minister Naka said this as he evaluated Theo's attitude evenly. Ching Feng's eyebrows flew up. Minister Naka was obviously taking advantage of the situation. Theo looked at Minister Naka and said sharply, "Minister Naka, I don't have the mood to discuss business with you right now." "Well, then it won't be easy to settle this. It might take some time to mobilize a troop," Minister Naka said, intentionally looking troubled. "Okay." Theo nodded. When he heard this, Minister Naka was instantly overjoyed, immediately concluding that he would get a fresh flow of funds. However, what Theo said next changed Minister Naka's entire expression. "If that's the case, then we'll remove all investments of Goldberg Corporation in America, then perhaps we'll look for other investments in Country M," Theo finished without giving Minister Naka another look. He nodded at Ching Fong and walked towards the helicopter. "My lord, please hold on." Minister Naka immediately ran to chase after him and stopped Theo. He thought that because Theo was in such a desperate situation, he would agree to further investments, but the man did not take the bait. If Theo really removed all his investments, the authorities would blame him and whatever benefits he had dreamt of would evaporate instantly. "Mr. Goldberg, what I said was just what we can discuss later. We have an emergency at hand and will still need to save your wife from Philadelphia first, don't we?" Minister Naka quickly said after he stopped Theo. "What about the troops?" Theo looked at Minister Naka coldly. "Well, then, how about we prepare a troop of 300 people for you, Mr. Goldberg?" Minister Naka seemed to be asking for Theo's opinion. 300 people. Theo squinted. He was not even clear about the current situation in Philadelphia. That place was chaotic. Even without the Italian gangsters, there were still strong forces there, and all of these were uncertainties. 300 people would not be enough. If 300 people could solve the issue, why would he go through so much work when he only needed to mobilize his people? Why would he need to look for this minister? How about 400 men? Minister Naka tested again when he saw Theo hesitate. Theo continued to stare at him without saying anything. Naka was rather anxious by now, so he rubbed his hands together and asked, "Mr. Goldberg, what do you want?" 20 tanks, 5 fighter jets, and 500 men equipped with firearms, Theo said plainly. Minister Naka looked stiffly at the tuxedo-clad man, holding back a curse. 20 tanks plus 5 fighter jets and 500 armed men. Theo was being too demanding. Why didn't he just rob someone? With the recent battlefield requirements, there was no way they had that many tanks and fighter jets to spare. Even if they did, he could not just casually mobilize them. No way. Definitely no way. This definitely can't be done. Minister Naka cried out emotionally. Since there is no way, then Goldberg Corporation can't continue either. Farewell, Minister. Theo shook his head. Mr. Goldberg. Minister Naka said, practically weeping, Mr. Goldberg, your requests are too demanding. With the recent tense battles, we only have 5 tanks and 2 fighter jets to spare. Even if you wanted more, you can only mobilize these. Deal. Theo nodded. What? Minister Naka was stunned. Had he just been tricked by Theo? He was Minister Naka after all and had dealt with diplomatic situations for half his life, yet here he was, being tricked by a businessman. Chapter 651. Obviously, Theo was well versed in psychology. First, he requested for a demand that the opposite party would never agree to, then he revealed what he really wanted, which made things sound much easier. Minister Naka was helpless at the moment. 5 tanks, plus 2 fighter jets with a 300-strong armed troop. This force should be enough to wipe out Philadelphia. No problems, right, Mr. Goldberg? Sure, Theo answered. Looking at Minister Naka's forlorn expression, Theo assured, don't worry, Minister Naka, I will bear whatever compensation if any loss happens. In fact, just as I said before, I would try my best to resolve the issue peacefully. With your promise, Mr. Goldberg, I feel assured. Please do try. Minister Naka let his men open the door before he got into the helicopter with Theo and flew towards the nearest military fortress. In Philadelphia. At that moment, Augustine was carried by several brawny men as they ran towards the outskirts of Philadelphia. Their band of more than 100 men had dwindled down to 20-odd people, and the clothes on them had been shredded clean. Rachel and Trevor still had some doubts, so they captured about 70 to 80 of his men, stripped them of their weapons, then let Augustine bring enough money for their ransom. Rachel actually got her people to remove all of their clothes. Augustine's pants were colored in carmine red blood, while the lower region of his body had been destroyed by Trevor. "Satan, Trevor, I will have you guys die horribly," Augustine snarled, violence blazing in his eyes. If looks could kill, Satan, Trevor and everyone else would have died much earlier and multiple times too. Sadly, glaring intently could not maim, much less kill them. "Boss, what do we do now? Philadelphia's police force is a bunch of useless kittens." They looked at Satan like they had seen a ghost and ran away faster than anyone. "They have really screwed us over," asked one of the brawny men who carried Augustine carefully. Actually, everyone knew very well that the person who had screwed them over was none other than Augustine himself. If it had not been because of his insistence to mess with Satan's woman, everyone would not have ended up like this. Augustine's nether regions were ruined by Trevor. In order to let Augustine live, Trevor and Rachel actually brought a doctor over to conduct surgery on Augustine, sewing up the wound and even injected painkillers. Compared to his ears, which were sliced off, his nether regions were much more important. "I will have them pay 1,000,000 times worse. I want to let Satan, Trevor, and the rest of them die horribly. Do you hear me? They will die horribly," Augustine roared. When they heard this, his men shook their heads. Satan was a reputable figure and was nicknamed King of the Night. Even his man, Trevor alone, could easily kill Augustine. What could Augustine seek revenge with? His mouth? A plan was already hatching in Augustine's mind. He would first inform the seniors about this. They definitely would not leave him to die. Until then. Suddenly, deep rumbles were heard across the sky and the night was lit up. 2 fighter jets were actually circling the Philadelphia sky, while a huge beam shone in every corner hunting for something. "Where's that helicopter from?" "Helicopter. That's a weird sound it's making." "Damn it, that's a militant fighter jet." It was not sure who in particular shouted this, but everyone else inspected closely and turned pale. Those were indeed fighter jets. In fact, those were American fighter jets. What's going on? Why would these American fighter jets appear in Philadelphia? One of the men asked, breaking out in cold sweat. He thought to himself, could the American government want to wipe out the gangsters in Philadelphia? However, based on their group activities, there was no way they would have attracted the attention of the American government. Besides, America was currently engaged in war, so how could they be wasting militant resources on little Philadelphia? That was definitely American fighter jets though, no mistake about that. Militant tanks. Within a few breaths, several large tanks slowly lumbered into sight. The huge cannons had muzzle brakes on them and they could only imagine what it would be like if the cannon was fired. There were 2 fighter jets in the air and 5 American tanks on the ground. Augustine and the rest were thoroughly dumbfounded on the spot. They were itching to know what exactly was happening. Chapter 652. 2 American military fighter jets and 5 American war tanks suddenly appeared in Philadelphia, leaving Augustine and his men in shock. At that moment, Augustine's hatred towards Satan and Trevor was forgotten instantly. A few dozen trucks soon appeared with fierce-looking armed squads. Soon, a white military truck stopped in front of Augustine. The door opened and a man in camo gear alighted, his stripes indicating that he was a captain. "Stay right there," the captain roared at Augustine and his men. The next second, hundreds of armed soldiers aimed their gun at Augustine. Augustine was sweating profusely. This was the official military of America. Augustine was still hoping that Satan would be their target, as his gang might not be as influential as Satan. Right, it must be Satan they are after. Augustine reaffirmed his own thoughts, confident that the official military to counter him could have only summoned someone at Satan's level. "What's your name?" A soldier closed in on Augustine and shouted at him while pointing a rifle dangerously. "Augustine Cavendish." Augustine's forehead was slick with sweat as he reported his full name nervously. Bastard, the soldier yelled and smashed his rifle into Augustine's face. Augustine fell hard onto the floor from the impact and his men did not dare to do anything. All 20 of them did not move an inch even upon seeing Augustine attacked. Hand me the people. There was the sound of a bullet being loaded and a gun was aimed at Augustine's face, ready to be fired any moment. What? Who? What people? Augustine stammered in confusion from the rifle and was even more confused when he was asked to hand over some people. He did not know what they were talking about. You bastard, I'll kill you right here. The soldier raised his foot and stomped on Augustine's torso, causing Augustine to almost pass out from the heavy impact. Mr. Goldberg, is this him? A car door opened and Theo came out. Theo nodded. He had looked at the CCTV and confirmed that this man was Augustine. However, seeing Augustine and his men but naked in Philadelphia, with the dark congealed blood stains smeared on the bottom half of Augustine's body, something must have happened, and Luna was clearly not with him right now. Where's my wife? Theo stopped the soldier's barrage with a hand as he squatted down and looked at him coldly. Your wife? Who's your wife? Augustine backed off, scuttling on his backside and hands. The terrifying aura from the man was scaring him. Luna, the woman you took in the morning. You even shot her in the leg. Although Theo tried to sound calm, his cold gaze made Augustine shiver. Luna, I don't know her, did you get the wrong person? Augustine was petrified. Who exactly was this woman? First, there was Satan and now the American military was here. Furthermore, seeing how the captain was treating this man respectfully, could he possibly be a major or maybe a colonel? Chapter 653. Augustine thought that the American military was here for Satan, but it was all because of Luna. This man had mentioned that Luna was his wife. Then, what about Satan? Was Luna not Satan's woman? Augustine had no time for doubts. He knew that he could never admit shooting Luna. Instead, he insisted that he did not know Luna and had never abducted this man's wife. Don't want to talk. Theo stood up and looked at him casually. There are a lot of ways to make you talk if you'd like to try. Perspiration dripped off Augustine's forehead as he looked at this stranger and thought to himself, if this man is so sure about what I have done, he probably has enough evidence to believe so and it is meaningless to deny the truth anymore. That woman, she, was taken away just now. After a while, Augustine decided to blurt out the truth. Bastard, why did you abduct Madame Lou? Spill it. A soldier smashed Augustine in the shoulder with his gun again. These military soldiers were not very patient. With his wail like a dying pig, a fresh wound split open on Augustine's face. Tell us who took Madame Goldberg away or I'll kill you right now. The soldier glowered at him fiercely. Without waiting for Augustine to speak, the captain went up to Theo and whispered to him, Mr. Goldberg, from the CCTV videos just now, your wife has been taken away by another group of people, who are still in Philadelphia at the moment. Another group of people. Theo frowned. What trouble did Luna get herself into this time? But, Mr. Goldberg, these people, they aren't your common thugs, the captain explained anxiously as he looked at the military-grade armored car and the heavy machine gun. After hearing the captain's description, Theo replied instantly, I'm going to save my wife. What about these people? The captain looked at Augustine and his men. Should we just kill them right here? Theo shook his head. He was reminded of how they insulted Luna and tore off her clothes, so he said coldly, I remember the American military has a unique interrogation system. The captain understood immediately. I got you, Mr. Goldberg. Let me handle them, I'll not let you down. Thank you. Theo nodded his head slightly. Get these people on the truck and take them away, a corporal beside the captain ordered. Augustine and his men were being taken away by force, without any means to resist. Augustine hung his head gloomily as if he was a corpse. He thought what Tanguy had done to him was his greatest despair, but he had yet to know what was going to happen to him next. The interrogation system of the American military would be a real hell on earth. Half an hour later, somewhere in Philadelphia. Two military fighter jets soared through the city skyline and multiple war tanks closed in, forcing the armored cars to come to a halt. Although there were heavy defenses on the armored cars, they dared not act rashly when facing a war tank. After all, those were American war tanks and not toy cars. One shot from that thing would totally destroy the armored car. American military? Duncan was surprised by the situation. Could their activity tonight have exposed them to the American military? Chapter 654. Both parties came to a standstill. The air was tense and no one made a move yet. What happened? The man in the silver car asked as the group stopped advancing forward. In the car, Luna looked pale due to the excessive blood loss. She did not have the strength to care about what was happening outside, but she just opened her eyes halfway after hearing some commotion. Tang Yi came over from another armored car and reported, "It's the military." The man in the silver car coolly reacted, "Oh?" Philadelphia had always been a lawless area, yet the military was meddling this time. It seemed like they had allocated every resource they had available to this area. Interesting. The man got down from the car with a grin on his face. In one of the war tanks, the captain felt that something was amiss when he saw the silver-haired man get down from the car. He had not expected for him to be back. The captain did not really care what he did in the dark, but he had left the military in an awkward position this time by meddling with trouble. "Captain Waymond, good day. What brings you here today?" greeted the man arrogantly, acting like Philadelphia was his own base. Duncan was concerned about the man's ego. He never knew how to restrain himself. They were already in a bad enough situation and provoking the military was not the best idea to get them out of there. The captain simmered with anger, but he put on a calmly stern facade. "Hand over the person you abducted. Let's save each other's time." He strictly followed the orders he had received and tried to solve the issue peacefully. Things were easy if it had just been Augustine to deal with, but for him, if both parties ended up in a fight, the cost would be too great. The silver-haired man raised his brows. "The person he abducted? Who exactly did I abduct?" the man asked in heightened interest. As the captain was about to continue persuading him, a person alighted from a car at the back. The man was still wearing the black suit from the cocktail party and he had an icy cold aura around him. In a steely tone that matched his fierce eyes, he enunciated, "My wife." The moment the man appeared, the silver-haired man suddenly became sharp and aggressive rather than indifferent. He clenched his teeth and said, "Theo." The two men were a dozen steps apart, one evil, one ice-cold. The air had invisible sparks lighting up. In the silver car, Luna suddenly woke up. What happened? She thought, she just heard Theo's voice. No, impossible. Why would Theo be here? It must be a hallucination. The light in Luna's eyes faded quickly, but the small tiny spark of hope in her heart urged her to look outside the window. She was astonished when she finally saw what was happening. In front of that intimidating black fighter jet and war tank stood a familiar, mountainous figure. He emitted an aura of winter, but he warmed her heart. Theo. It was, really him. After a long suffocating silence, the silver-haired man spoke up, funny. Who's your wife?" Before Theo could say anything, a head popped out of the silver car. Luna waved while yelling, Me, it's me. Save me, boss." Chapter 655. The moment he saw the girl, Theo's frozen demeanor instantly cracked. Luna. It had only been a few hours from when he had received Adam's phone call till now, but it felt like a few lifetimes long. He had finally found her. When he heard Luna's words, the silver-haired man could not remain cool any longer. In frustration, he immediately turned around to berate her, your backside. Get back in. Trevor, take her away. He was immediately annoyed by her. How dare she cheat on him right in his face? She was really going against him now. Duncan coughed slightly and Rachel rubbed her nose speechlessly and looked at the sky innocently. Trevor looked like he had predicted all of this as he followed Satan's orders and walked over to start the engine. Watching the scenery rolling backwards quickly through the window and her distance from Theo increasing, Luna instantly anxiously leaned out of the car window and cried very sadly, "I don't want to go. I don't want to. Boss, save me, save me." Looking at the girl's miserable little face, Theo felt his heart tighten and he felt an even more indescribable feeling of joy. Wasn't this silver-haired man the one she liked? Why did she actually admit that she was his wife? Could it be that they were quarreling? Or the silver-haired guy was struggling to swallow his anger that was about to lose control of and said with his best nonchalant tone, When my baby was in danger, where were you? I saved her and now you're here to take all the credit? My baby?" When Theo heard this, he immediately sealed off all the warmth he felt and said with a poker face, "Who should my wife thank for the danger? You." The man was speechless. It was true that Augustine only picked on Luna because of him and that if he had not arranged to meet Luna here, she would not have met with danger. After that, it was not sure what the man had thought, but he started to be suspicious and looked at Rachel. When did the brat change her name to Honey? Rachel felt a trickle of cold sweat run down her forehead as she replied, Boss, Honey is not a name. It's a form of address for your wife, basically. Basically it means, my wife." The silver-haired man immediately roared, "What the? Your backside. Is it official now? You're Honey." When he saw that Madame Goldberg was safe, the captain could finally be temporarily relieved as he continued to advise Satan, "Let Madame Goldberg go. Everything can be negotiated, that's all I can say. If you continue to not take heed, don't blame us for using violence." It is my utmost wish." Not only did the silver-haired guy not back down, he actually seemed to look even more excited. His light brown eyes were fixated on Theo like an animal. Rachel frowned and said, "Satan, you can't. The boat is arriving soon. We can leave immediately, there's no need for conflict with them at such a time." He was obviously very against the idea of ruining any plans for the woman. He had already disagreed with the previous plan of going against Augustine with such a huge force as he was afraid that something might go wrong. Alas, the situation had been worse than he foresaw. "Satan, yield for a moment and the wind shall calm while the wave subsides. Just let them have her first. We can always." "Shut up." Helplessly, Duncan looked towards Rachel to ask for help. Rachel shrugged and looked willing but unable to help. She did not know why every time that guy met something related to Theo, he would itch for a bloody fight. Plus, this time it was related to the little junior sister, so it was a lost cause no matter who advised him. Chapter 656. On the other side, the captain solemnly advised Theo, "Mr. Goldberg, the situation doesn't look positive. I can threaten them here and there, but if we really were to mobilize firearms, this won't do." "Why not?" Theo's eyes blazed murderously. He was already prepared to give it his all. Big deal, he would just agree to Minister Naka's disadvantageous conditions. So what if this war was incited? Initially, he had some hesitations when he saw the silver-haired man because he recognized that this was who Luna had mentioned, the person she really liked. However, it turned out that she had taken such a huge risk and gone through such danger to travel to Philadelphia secretly just to see him. She had followed him willingly. Such a fact pierced his heart like an arrow, saddening him deeply. Though, the moment he felt hopeless, Luna had suddenly appeared and actually admitted herself as his wife. She obviously did not want to leave with this person. She begged him for help. He had experienced death in a moment and was revived in the next. Theo had instantly returned to the human realm from hell. Regardless of what and how, he had to bring her home with him today. And at that moment, the silver-haired guy's thoughts were barely in sync with Theo's. "Brat. Don't want to leave with me? Then I will take you away with me. Big senior brother, just let me go, okay? Please, I'm begging you. Big senior brother, if you let me go today, I will be your slave to return my gratitude in the next lifetime. Big senior brother, do you really not care about brotherhood anymore? Am I not still the little junior sister you love the most?" In the car, no matter how Luna begged, Trevor was not moved at all. Finally, Luna gave up and hopelessly slumped on the car seat, recalling the heady moment she saw Theo. The more she thought about it, the more she felt miserable. It would be better if there was no hope at all. In such a moment, she had unexpectedly seen him. Even though this little car looked shabby, it was still functioning well and Trevor could drive it away pretty quickly. When they were about to reach the jetty, a person suddenly appeared on the road in front of them. She and Trevor would never have thought that someone would appear here at that moment. Trevor halted the car with the emergency brake and stopped half a meter from the man. They saw that the person who blocked their way was someone with curly brown hair, tan skin, and a nonchalant expression. It was. Luna was so shocked that she stuttered, "Second, second, second." "Second what?" The man's brows raised, and in that moment, to Luna, it was like millions of cherry blossom trees had flowered. "Second senior brother. Second senior brother. Second senior brother, second senior brother, second senior brother." Luna's expression was so emotional, as if she was a crazy fan who had just seen her favorite idol, and she started to cheer with sheer joy. She even forgot that the wound on her thigh hurt, jumping out the car and running over. "Second senior brother. It really is you." The man laughed heartily. "Ha ha 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 ha. Little senior sister, miss me?" "I miss you." "Oh, second senior brother, I missed you so much." Luna's eyes teared up. She had not seen him for so long, and she really did miss him a lot. She had been afraid of many people back then, but Tang Lang was the one person she had always wanted to see the most and liked being close to. The guy rubbed her messy long hair and said, good girl, good girl. I missed you too." "Aya, little junior sister, your hair is so long already. You look nice with long hair. Turns out that you're a really pretty little girl." Chapter 657. Obviously. I look even prettier in female clothes. Second senior brother, where did you disappear to? Big senior brother said he hasn't seen you for over half a year. And you haven't contacted me either. Luna lamented. Cameron looked at her with his eyebrows raised and said, touch. The both of them reminisced for a long while until Trevor interrupted, Cameron. Trevor called out for the man's name without any expression on his face, only his eyes questioning silently. Aha. Senior brother, long time no see. Did you miss me? Cameron flung his arm over Trevor's shoulders and leaned against him carelessly. Trevor pushed him away with one hand roughly and said, Master has been looking for you. Cameron insistently leaned on him again. Only Master? What about you? On the side, Luna covered her eyes and said, Io, I can't look anymore. There are children here. Our nation's flowers are about to be terribly influenced by you too. Cameron hit her lightly on the head and said, You're the flower. The flower overlord? Pfft. I'm a little white flower. She was already in such misery. Wasn't she a tragic little white flower now? When Cameron heard that, it was like he had heard the funniest joke in the world as he held his tummy and burst into laughter. You, little white flower. Ha 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 ha. Luna was angry now. Hey. Why can't I be a little white flower? Do you have to laugh this hard? Ha 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 ha. Cameron held on to his tummy and laughed so hard he could not say anything. Luna did not notice how, but all she saw was that while Cameron was still laughing hard, his arms suddenly moved to the back of Trevor's neck and injected a clear liquid into the man. Trevor did not even have the time to react before he fell over. Oh my God. Second senior brother. What are you doing? Why did you attack big senior brother? Luna was shocked. You lil dummy. Obviously to save you. Cameron exclaimed as he carried Trevor's limp body and carefully put him by the roadside. Luna was still stunned. Save me? No time for explanations. Just come with me quickly. Cameron rushed as he quickly helped Luna to the car, then got into the driver's seat. The moment Cameron got in, he was bewildered. My God. Why did Satan get this outdated vintage car? How do I drive this junk? I know how to. But my leg is hurt. I can't move it. Quickly teach me. Okay, let me teach you. While the two were still getting the hang of driving the car, an arm suddenly slotted in from the car window and gripped onto Cameron, who was in the driver's seat, hauling him out of the car through the window. Trevor, who had been unconscious, was standing by the car shakily and holding onto Cameron's shirt while looking scary. Cameron escaped by turning around and out of his coat before he looked at the man in disbelief. Jesus! Trevor, you psycho. I've already used double the amount. How are you awake so soon? Trevor looked at him like a statue, his jet black eyes as sharp as daggers. Explain. Cameron frowned, his tone slightly annoyed. I have nothing to explain. The truth is as what you see. Trevor gritted his teeth. You betrayed the organization. Cameron scoffed and looked around, his mouth curved into a smile. Huh, yeah, I did. What about it? Do you want to wipe me out? Chapter 658. Looking at his opponent's indifferent attitude, Trevor held his fist tight, to the point his finger joints cracked. Hidden behind his glasses were his rage and pain. You. Looking at Trevor's hurtful eyes, Trevor avoided eye contact and closed his eyes. Senior brother, let's have a match. The one who wins will take little junior sister away. How does that sound? After a short moment of silence, Trevor replied coolly, sure. Luna was totally confused about the current situation. What was happening? Did second senior brother betray the organization? Who was he working for now? It seemed like he was trying to knock out first senior brother to save her. Could he possibly be working for the devil now? Impossible. This did not make sense. How could second senior brother be related to the devil? But currently, this was the only explanation. Otherwise, second senior brother would not have appeared here and dared to oppose Satan to try to rescue her. While Luna was still figuring things out, both of them were at each other's throats. Unfortunately, Trevor could not go on the offensive. There was no opening. The small ray of hope in Luna's heart suddenly diminished and she yelled at him, second senior brother, can you or can't you do it? Trevor clenched his teeth while trying to fend off Trevor's crazy attacks. Never ask a man if he can do it. The situation changed after his reply. Luna's eyes shone brightly again. Trevor had gotten serious and his ferocity intensified. He began his counter, but he was still relaxed enough to keep on talking. Yo, the old man was really biased. He sure taught you a lot of new stuff. Luna was annoyed. He had been missing for half a year. Of course, the master only had first senior brother to teach. There was something even worse. Trevor's talent was out of the world. He could actually observe and learn Trevor's new skills on the spot, and he rebounded the attack back at him. Luna was impressed. Too bad, there was no popcorn for her to enjoy the show. Upon seeing his skills being easily copied on the spot, something went off within Trevor. He suddenly stepped back and took on a resting stance. He stared at Trevor, then he raised his hand to take off his glasses. Luna's heart sank to the pits of her stomach. This was bad. She did not realize that first senior brother had not taken off his glasses for the whole fight, meaning that he had not utilized his full power yet. Even Trevor was being wary and anxious at that moment. Luna's worry had materialized. Trevor without his glasses was like an unrestrained beast. His attack powers rose sharply when that happened. Luna could tell that second senior brother had no other choice but to use his full power this time. It was a tough fight between the both of them. Trevor cursed to himself countless times. He had thought that Trevor had reached the bottleneck and could not possibly reach new heights in a mere half a year. He thought he could win, but apparently, he had underestimated Trevor. Chapter 659. This guy had crazily outstanding talent. It was truly inhuman for him to improve this tremendously in such a short time. There was no more meaning in continuing to fight. It would have ended up in a draw. Regardless, time would not wait for no man. He could not wait any further and he needed to get Luna away soon as Satan's men would be here any time. He had to think of something fail-safe. Damn it. It was simply too hard. Trevor was too careful and there was no opening at all. He was just distracted ever so slightly by trying to think of an escape plan, and a solid punch landed on his face. Pain exploded on his cheek. "You bastard, Trevor. Are you really trying to kill me? What a heavy blow. I'll not give you another chance if you get distracted again." Trevor gave him a cold side eye. Cameron's nostrils flared. Damn it. He was going to wait patiently until Trevor was distracted. Their fight continued. Cameron tried to aim for his fatal points, but Trevor moved forward instead of avoiding him, showing no signs of fear at all. Cameron would not be able to attack at such a close range. Instead, he was paving a path to his own grave. As Cameron got closer, he had a weird grin on his face. It was too late when Trevor realized that something fishy was up. Cameron directly kissed him. They kissed. Cameron quickly held Trevor by his throat and pushed him onto the car as he was distracted by the shocking kiss. He murmured, "Senior brother, you lose." Luna was startled. "Deawamam. My eyes. Second senior brother. That was so wrong. As long as it worked." Cameron was proud of his tactic and he smilingly turned to Trevor. "Senior brother, you'd admit defeat, right?" Trevor suppressed his urge to smash him into pieces and took a deep breath. He had fulfilled his promise. "Get lost." "As you wish." As if afraid that Trevor would regret his decision, Cameron quickly slung Luna over his shoulder and ran away swiftly while quickly sending a text on his phone at the same time, "Retreat." On the other battleground, both parties came to a standstill. The air was tense. The captain was trying his best to persuade Satan but to no effect. Time passed and dawn broke slowly, yet both parties did not show any signs of retreating. The silver-haired man yawned and looked impatient. Such troublesome creatures. Are we fighting or not? As Theo was about to reply him, he received a text message, which caught him by surprise, but he masked his reaction to the content well and no one noticed. He then looked at the man and grandly said, "As you wish." The silver-haired man felt a strong bloodlust rise within himself. Duncan did not plan to rely on his employer's sanity since their opponent was Theo, and he expected the latter to make a rational choice. However, seeing that Theo was just as unreliable, he was deeply troubled. The captain was even more afraid. "Mr. Goldberg, we can't fight them." He was not worried about the outcome of this fight. America was barely standing its ground in the war now, and if one of their main forces were to be defeated here, other countries might seize the chance and infiltrate the motherland. Chapter 660. A military-grade SUV closed in quickly. The door opened and Minister Naka got down with a few of his subordinates in tow. The captain had had to inform his superior of the uncontrollable situation. Minister Naka went up to Theo nervously and urged, "Mr. Goldberg, you promised to solve this peacefully." "I said I'll try," Theo replied. "Mr. Liu, I know you're deeply concerned about your wife, but there are many other ways to rescue her. It isn't too late to take action after they set sail. There's no point to clash here, is there?" Minister Naka tried his best to convince him. Theo's expression appeared to waver. The minister continued with his persuasion. After a long while, Theo decided with a darkened expression, "Retreat." The silver-haired man sneered at him. "Ah, retreating already? Did I even allow such a thing?" He already guessed based on Theo's personality that he would never do something so irrational just for a woman, and hence, the fight would not happen. But Duncan was clueless, so he had quickly gone up to ask him to stop provoking them and ordered his people to retreat at the same time. The man yawned and went back to his armored car cheerfully. The girl was already with him and he wanted to get her back. In his dreams. The sea was his turf. Watching the crowd disperse, Minister Naka was relieved, but some new worries loomed on the horizon. Theo would never let them get away for abducting his beloved wife. The worst part was that he had no idea what plans to propose to rescue Madame Goldberg. He had just been trying to calm Theo down and lied. If Satan took to the seas, it would be even more impossible to save anyone from him. Minister Naka's plan was to send as many people as he could, but he still would not know if the rescue mission would end up successful or otherwise. Mr. Goldberg, let's go back to DC and devise an elaborate plan. Minister Naka was trying to comfort Theo, but the man suddenly urgently ordered, go back to the outskirts of Philadelphia. Minister Naka was confused and had no idea why he wanted to go there, but he felt guilty, so he ordered his men to follow Theo's orders. A few hundred meters away from the meeting point, Theo jumped off the tank and hurried by foot. Hey! Boss! We're here. Somewhere not too far away, someone was yelling. A brown-haired man was holding a slender girl with long hair. That girl seemed like. Theo ran towards them. Beside the brown-haired man was the profusely injured girl. With so much that happened to her, she was barely conscious now. She only saw a familiar shadow block out the light and she mumbled, Theo. Before she lost consciousness, she felt a warm embrace and heard a whisper by her ear, it's me. Sorry, I'm late.